Election season isn't over just yet. An even bigger vote will take place Wednesday in Moscow. The United 2026 FIFA World Cup bid, including Canada, the United States and Mexico, are less than a week from knowing their fate. The 211-member FIFA Congress will convene a day before this summer's World Cup kicks off to decide which nations will host the 2026 tournament. In this Friday Dec 1, 2017 file photo, the World Cup trophy is placed on display during the 2018 Soccer World Cup draw in the Kremlin in Moscow. Morocco says it will have to spend $16 billion to prepare the country to host the 2026 World Cup, with every proposed stadium and training ground needing to be built from scratch or renovated. With less than 3 months until the FIFA vote, the North African nation presented details of its proposal to take on the joint bid from the United States, Canada and Mexico. Alexander Zemlyanichenko, AP Morocco has put forward the only competing bid to potentially spoil Canada's chance at hosting 10 games during the expanded, 48-team competition, which follows Qatar hosting in 2022, as Ontario Premier-designate Doug Ford toured parts of Ontario ahead of last week's provincial election. Canadian Soccer Association brass were touring the world. From his current base in London, England, CSA President Steve Rudd said envoys representing the United 2026 bid have visited with approximately 80% of the world's football federations. The winning bid must receive 104 votes to be awarded the tournament. There's been a lot of air miles. Reid joked to the Toronto Sun this week. I think I sleep more on airplanes. I can't venture to guess on how many federations I've visited with. Reid added, "It's almost impossible to hit them all." Part of the United 2026 bid's tactics have been to split into 3 groups, with each federation's leader traveling alongside senior members from Canada, the US, and Mexico. For instance, Reid was set to reunite this weekend by CSA General Secretary Peter Montopoli, who wrapped his final meeting with Gibraltar Friday before traveling to the United Kingdom. After securing all 10 votes from the South American Confederation in April, representatives from the United 2026 bid visited every continent to sell United 2026 as deserving hosts. "I think we're very confident in our bid," Reid said. "We've been received very positively. There have been a number of federations that have come out in support of us publicly. Those FIFA affiliates include Zimbabwe, Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan." English soccer legend David Beckham also backed the United 2026 bid earlier this month, which means something. "People are impressed that we have the stadiums in place," Reid explained. "They look at that and see what happened in the past in Brazil in Olympic Games and they don't want to see that again. The white elephants after competitions that burden the local economy." Brazilians are still scratching their heads as to why a 44,000-seat stadium was constructed in the remote, Amazonian city of Manaus. Arena Amazonia has hardly been used since the 2014 tournament. It's why FIFA bid assessors recently scored Morocco's ambitious bid well below United 2026. Inspectors scored the United 2026 bid 402 out of 500 compared to Morocco's 275. It's hard to believe the FIFA Congress will side with a Moroccan bid that calls for tens of billions in spending and the construction of a handful of new stadiums. The United 2026 bid, meanwhile, has stuck to its messaging. They reiterate the unity, certainty and opportunity bringing the World Cup to Canada represents. Surrounded by young soccer players, Amarjeet Sohi, Minister of Infrastructure and Communities, announcing that Edmonton has been named as a host city for the 2026 FIFA World Cup that would take place in Canada, Mexico and United States, at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton, March 16, 2018. Ed Kaiser, Post Media. Ed Kaiser, Post Media. "We feel very strongly our bid is of the highest quality," Reid reiterated. Edmonton, Montreal and Toronto are the only Canadian cities involved in the bid after Vancouver, British Columbia, actually turned its back on the CSA at the 11th hour. Monterrey, Mexico City and Guadalajara are the only Mexican cities involved in the bid along with 17 U.S. cities. Only 16 host cities will be chosen. Canada's men's team will almost certainly receive automatic entry into the 48-team tournament if the United 2026 bid collects enough votes. On June 13, the United States last hosted the FIFA World Cup in 1994, 8 years after Diego Maradona captained Argentina to a World Cup win in Mexico. LARSON at postmedia.com 2026 could bring hope to Canada's men's soccer team. Canadian boys often cheer for someone else. It's been their only choice given Canada's men's team hasn't qualified for a FIFA World Cup since 1986. Canadian Soccer Association President Steve Redd says all that could change if the United 2026 World Cup bid receives the go-ahead in Moscow on June 13. I always make reference to what happened in 2002. Reid told the Toronto Sun from his pre-tournament base in London, England. Homeless people and volunteers of Moscow's charity organizations play football during a one-day tournament at a pitch in Sokolniki Park on June 9, 2018. The 2018 FIFA World Cup tournament begins on June 14. Maxim Zmeyev, AFP, Getty Images. He was referring to the FIFA U19 Women's World Cup that was hosted by Canada. Close to 50,000 Canadians turned up at Edmonton's Commonwealth Stadium to watch Christine Sinclair take on the Americans in the final. It was a match that sparked an outpouring of support for the women's program in addition to producing a new generation of young, female soccer players. Canada's Christine Sinclair, left, and Costa Rica's Shirley Cruz chase a through ball during first-half international women's soccer action in Toronto on Sunday, June 11, 2017. Chris Young, the Canadian press, it's just a natural outcome. Reid said of seeing the same kind of growth on the men's side. I think it could be really exciting to Canadian soccer in general. Canada's men's team fell well short of qualifying for Russia 2018. The embattled program failed to qualify for CONCACAF's final round of qualifying. Mexico, Costa Rica and Panama will represent CONCACAF at this summer's tournament. LARSON.